55 to the drive. The ride, 31 minutes, 95th to downtown. Outbound 23, going to crash at 18th, blocking 3 lanes. I-57, 29 minutes, 80 to the merge, Mission 425. Northbound Tri-State at the north end, it's Jan, 173 to 41. The crash now on the shoulder. Northbound Veterans Memorial, it's heavy. Bout to Maple and Army Trail to 290. Southbound 53 at Rand to Kirchhoff. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning Weather Center, cloudy, windy, and milder today, a high of 44. Currently, 26. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Money Hour Radio Show, Saturday afternoons at 3 on AM 560, The Answer. Brought to you by Pearshell Financial Group.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
This essay from Francie Hart Broghammer, Death by Loneliness.
On AM 560.
The Dan Prof story.
Exactly. That is the working title of my autobiography.
The Answer.
Top of the morning, au contraire.
Oh, yeah, you're not messing around. Huh?
Loneliness, or being alone, I should say loneliness. Being alone is a joyous occasion. This from Bridget Phetasy at Spectator USA. The joy of spending Christmas alone.
That's sad.
Let me just give you the concluding paragraph, and then she'll join us to work the supporting evidence, because unlike the impeachment imbroglio, we require evidence here. Move beyond the superficial and spend some time in quiet contemplation, playing video games and eating pizza. Face yourself fearlessly. We tell lies to avoid the hard truths, like the fact that I'm a procrastinator, misanthrope, and that Epstein didn't kill himself.
Oh,
it's that kind of self-accountability that separates Bridget from the pack. There's no question about it. Bridget Phetasy, thanks. She's a contributor to Spectator USA, The Federalist, former Playboy advisor to Playboy magazine. Oh, boy. Thanks for joining us, Bridget. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Bridget, how many Christmases have you spent alone to actually research this?
I've spent a bunch alone, actually. I really enjoy it. My father was worried. He thought that the first time I did it, he thought I was going to kill myself, and he just did not understand why I would want to do something like that.
See, people don't understand what a misanthrope is, and that's how you self-identify. You hate humanity, but you like individual people, and if those individual people aren't around to spend time with, then you'd rather be alone.
That was my high school quote, actually. I love humanity. It's people I hate.
That's nice. But you found the joy embedded in that dislike, and that's a beautiful thing around the holiday season.
I just don't. I'm not a huge fan of doing things out of obligation. I think that it breeds a lot of resentment, and I enjoy spending time alone. I don't have that weird uncomfortability with sitting with myself, so I enjoyed just being alone and taking care of boring things like organizing paperwork and watching movies.
Well, what about?
I think people should get to be with themselves.
Oh, I understand that, and I've spent plenty of time by myself. I lived in 7 states and towns people wouldn't stop and get gas in. But Christmas was the time of year that I like to.
You're technically not living in those states when you're incarcerated.
Stop. I wasn't incarcerated. But do you still give Christmas gifts out? Even though you're spending Christmas alone.
I do. I think I'm more of a time is more valuable than things person.
Oh,
I think my love language is different, Amy.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
we have different love languages.
Uh-huh. That is that's the gospel of the miser. My time. you can't put a price on that. All right, go ahead.
You can't. It's the most valuable commodity on earth.
Okay. All right. No, I'm not. Of course, I understand. Quality time. Quality time.
And when you're alone, then do you have Christmas dinner in a can? Have you had Christmas dinner?
No.
Yeah.
I cook myself filet, and I make. I like cooking, so.
Oh, that's nice.
My family's on the other side of the country, so I'll send them presents. But it's and they're all married, most of my siblings, and so,
not to each other.
No.
Oh, good.
But then nieces and nephews, do you buy for them?
But they all have it's just such a cluster. I have 5. I'm the oldest of 5.
Oh.
But because they're all spread out with their in-laws now, it's not like we all go to one place and they're already so divided. So I go home in the fall or the summer when I can have more quality time with them.
What about like Skyping or something like that the kids are doing these days?
Yeah, we Skype with the kids for sure, yeah.
Now, I had a technical question about the sort of the quality or the quantity of joy you can extract from spending Christmas alone. And I've done it, so I have some sense of it. But as I'm trying to stay up on current trends, does that diminish or enhance the joy if I include my professional cuddlist to join me for Christmas? Now, again, I
was just reading that.
Professional cuddlist.
Hugging and spooning in a non-sexual way, because some people, as one professional cuddlist, Adam Lippin, who happens to be my professional cuddlist, says a lot of people have touch deprivation and skin hunger. So
$80 an hour.
What?
Again,
$80 an hour they're getting paid.
So you can put a price on time, as it turns out.
I mean, yeah, I guess cuddling is worth $80 an hour.
So it's
maybe I should do that this holiday season.
Well, I'm just saying there's.
You can write an article on it and see how it feels. I mean, if you're comfortable in your own skin, how do you feel about a stranger being near your own skin?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you stay over there.
It's
I like being alone.
It's interesting, Adam Lippin. I wonder how many women are open to spooning with somebody they don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure I understand the business model, but I'm fascinated by it. What about this? Since you're unmarried, let me help. I'm a bit of a matchmaker, Bridget.
Oh, he's a yenta. Yeah, that's right. Forgot.
There is a Harvard geneticist named George Church who is interested in creating a dating app that would match users based on their genetic compatibility. So this is, yeah. So
that's creepy.
Yeah, it's very, and by creepy, of course, you mean, enlightened and forward-looking. Eliminate genetic diseases by only matching up genetically compatible couples. So arrange marriages by your genetic composition. What do you think about that?
That seems like it could be used for other things that we try to stay away from as humanity.
All right. Well, hey, in your article, you talked about your best Christmas ever when you were a kid. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, which one? When I found out my parents were going to get divorced?
Oh,
boy.
wow.
No, that's a nice job, Amy.
Bad turn. No, the one where you were reading, you took baths and read Harry Potter.
Oh, the one I spent alone. That wasn't as a kid.
Okay.
She just assumed it was a kid because you were reading Harry Potter. Yeah.
That's fair. That's really fair. I actually was an adult, and I was using Harry Potter as an escape because I had also recently got sober, and so I didn't have. It was a nice fluffy escape into another world.
What about?
Go on.
No, what about like we get over this another modern invention which I don't subscribe to, but I know people do. Friendsgiving. What about a Fristmas? What about spending Christmas with other friends since nobody gets married or everybody's divorced or everybody's got problems and they don't want to be around their family? What about putting together a group like that?
I've done that. I volunteer a lot over the holidays when I'm alone because there's a lot of people who are alone and lonely. And I volunteered in like nursing homes, and there's just a lot of people who don't have family, and so I find that you can give your time to people who really are lonely if you're like a sociopath like me, I guess, who feels no loneliness.
I get it. I mean, I spend a lot of time alone, reading, watching movies. I find myself endlessly entertaining. I mean, I don't know. I may make your own fun, right?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is the way that people project their own horror at the thought of being alone on the holidays onto you when you're doing something like that. Because for me, it's just another day. Christmas is lovely. I spend it with family now. But it's also something, this Thanksgiving I kind of let quietly pass by, and it was great. It was a very relaxing. I like that people are all with their families, and we live in such a hustle bustle world, and in my industry, it's kind of a nonstop hustle. So it's nice to just have the phone be quiet because everybody's distracted by their families, and the emails settle down and everything is still for a moment. So I enjoy the peace that comes with that. And I think I said in my piece, there's a difference between, I think it's important as an adult to transition from loneliness to solitude if you can. Finding that nice space.
Right, to transition from loneliness to solitude, where you're sort of, it's nice to be alone with your thoughts and actually create the time to think a little bit, right? To reflect, to think, to have something that sparks, that you're reading or watching that sparks more thinking and hustle bustle.
Or to just sit with the discomfort of being lonely and not feel the need to run from it.
Okay.
I think that it was interesting. I was reading this book about how the kids today, the kids these days, they don't know how to feel boredom because they all have phones.
No.
Bridget,
I got to tell you, I go to this yoga class, and the millennials, they don't know how to be alone at all. Even when you're not supposed to have phones, and they can't disconnect because they have no idea what it means to be quiet and sit still. And they'll text and they'll be talking. I look at them like, are you lonely? Do you know it's okay to be alone? It's okay to be quiet. It's okay to be still. And they look at me like I'm the crazy old lady.
It's what we talked about. I don't know if you saw the piece in the New York Times 4 or 5 weeks ago by the South Korean woman, but she talked about the South Korean practice of num chi, like trying to achieve quiet mind. And I think there's really something to that. I really do.
There is, and it's something that I'm a Gen Xer, I guess, so or a little bit on the young end of Gen X, and we're the last kind of analog generation. And I remember being bored as a kid, and my parents being, they're like, go play, go entertain yourself, go figure out what to do. I didn't have a phone that had apps and constant, so I became good at entertaining myself and just figuring things to do out or go ride my bike or do whatever. And I think that loneliness, I noticed the other day I had to get my phone fixed, and I was sitting in a restaurant, and I looked like a serial killer sitting there alone with no phone.
Just staring into the great abyss.
Yeah.
Or wondering what's
Everyone
going
around
on.
me had phones, and if their partner or whoever they were dining with went to the bathroom, they immediately got their phone out and looked at it. And I just was sitting there staring. I must have looked like I was it was interesting to me how different I felt sitting there, just aware that I was phoneless.
Here's a trick. I learned this from a Steve Martin movie. Just if you're going to do that, just bring like a cardboard cutout, a human with you. And because it gives the appearance, and it's in a distance, so all people see is the silhouette, and it gives the appearance that you're with other people. It's the little Steve Martin, Charles Grodin dinner party play there,
It's a fun experiment, and it is fun to see because I of course have a phone, and I use it when I'm standing in lines and in those in between moments when I would normally just have to sit with my thoughts and boredom. And it's interesting to just leave your phone behind and see how many times you reach for it. And over the lonely holidays, I think I'll probably do part of the being actually alone is turning the phone off and being alone. We're never really alone anymore.
But I do like the idea of going to a coffee shop or a restaurant and sitting there without your phone and just menacingly staring at people.
Oh, they must think you're a creep.
Please, I don't know why I like that.
Wear
for
a
some
trench
reason.
coat too, Dan.
People need to be made uncomfortable more often. That's my belief. Bridget Phetasy, contributor to Spectator USA, The Federalist, former Playboy advisor to Playboy magazine. You can check out her piece, The Joy of Spending Christmas Alone. Bridget, thanks for joining us. Merry Christmas.
Thank you for having me. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You too, dear. And she joined us
Here,
on our
how old are
Oh,
you?
my God. I'm an old lady. And she joined us on our turnkey top row answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.